This nibble originally aired on RSBANDB Update, episode 879, Sudi Economics. Enjoy. All right, RuneScape Kingdoms, The Shadow of Elvarg board game has been announced, and we talked about this. Was this at the tail end of last year or early this year? It seems like it was a while ago that we talked about this.
I remember we mentioned it, but I think it was this year, wasn't it?
Yeah. And this is the board game, because of course there was the board game and then the tabletop RPG, right? So this is a board game aimed for 1 to 5 players. Emphasis on 1 to 5. With this, it's going to be using a fast travel map, jumping from region to region as you level up skills and complete quests. They say you'll be able to zoom in for face-to-face encounters with iconic bosses that become even tougher as you work your way towards the final quest. You'll apparently get to choose what skills you max, which weapons you craft, and even where to explore next. You'll be able to go all throughout Gielinor, sampling every side quest on the way, while still keeping your eyes on the main prize and cutting a straight path through the campaigns to take on the challenging boss fights, where each group member will be able to play their own way, maxing up certain skills to earn those all-important capes. And they say experienced scapers will recognize iconic moments and sneaky references to their favorite video game, while total noobs will be enthralled by the whole wide world of Gielinor and all the adventures they get to experience on their own terms. And with this, they have a number of miniatures as well that they're going to be unveiling for this. They've unveiled the Elvarg miniature as well as the Knight, amongst others. What are you thinking, both of you? Would you sign up to play this board game? Or are you not board game people?
Thinking I might have figured out a way that I can do PVM.
I mean, it's one of those things I'd buy to put on a shelf, but not to actually play, I think. But I've been surprised before.
What have you been surprised with?
Surprising things?
Okay, fair.
I don't know.
Fair enough.
I mean, it looks neat. But I'm also not, like, the biggest board game person in the world.
Nor am I.
Yeah, and I don't really play them at all, except for like with my daughter and stuff. And she's even starting to grow out of it because we got video games.
Yeah, but I think RS players and people who love board games, there's a lot of overlap there.
Yeah, and it sounds like I was very I didn't know how they were going to capture RS in a board game, but from that description, it sounds like they may have done it.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, we don't have any pictures yet of how it's going to look, like the actual board itself. We just have the miniatures and such. There is a Kickstarter page where you can go there and you can notify on launch if you want to do that. And it's interesting to me because I thought Kickstarters were normally for projects that lacked funding, but Steamforged Games is a established company. Can established companies use Kickstarter to drive hype and build towards a launch?
I wouldn't have thought ethically, but who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. That was a question I had with this, but maybe we need to get together a group of people at the next gathering that happens and play this game and videotape it. I'm sure someone will do that.
Next time there's a Rune Fest, gotta have the board game.
Yeah, buy the board game at the merch stand, right?
Yeah.
Just like everybody buys all their favorite mouse pads and such at the Rune Fest merch stand. So
yeah. And I'm like Earth. I would probably buy it
just to have
to have it. Yeah.
And they say coming 2022, and there's about 8 months left in the year. So, based on this, what are we thinking? Holiday release, probably?
I mean, probably.
Yeah.
And, you know, I bet the most iconic quest that came up in the survey that we all did on this was Dragon Slayer, hence why they're calling it Kingdom of Elvarg.
Mm-hmm.
So,
That was the first thing that like I
Yeah.
immediately
Yeah.
recognized that. And,
yeah. And, you know, it's also really interesting. If you look at the miniatures, specifically the knight and the wizard, they're in the old style format
Mm-hmm.
of how their models and armor used to look. Specifically, the knight is wearing
the kite shield.
the old kite shield and the old scimitar.
That was the first thing I noticed.
Even all the old helmets and such. Who knows? Maybe RS3 needs to go back to that for the metal armors, that kind of style.
Oh, it's OS, the board game.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like you
mean,
just said something
Dragon
that a
Slayer.
lot of people haven't picked up on yet.
Yeah. Wait till they do.
But at the same time, doesn't matter. I mean, this is all the shared
No.
history we have between the
Yeah.
game, right?
Yeah.
So,
I think and obviously it makes sense to do the miniatures in a
oh
more
yeah,
simplistic kind of form, right?
yeah. And looking further into the blog from Steamforged Games on this, they say it isn't about a complex strategy game. Instead, it's going to be focusing on rich narrative quests and lighthearted distractions. Which sounds
Nice.
100% like RS, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And they're calling it RuneScape Kingdoms because they say, quote, "It was really important for us for the board game to appeal to scapers of all kinds, and it's heavily inspired by content and references from both RuneScape and old school RuneScape that will be familiar to players past and present. And to get new scapers into the game." You guys think
Yeah, that was the only part that kind of threw me off a little bit because I was expecting like kingdoms like, Vera and
right?
Ardoin and you know what I mean? So, and it from what you described, I didn't hear anything about that, so I'm not.
Well,
I'm not
that's
sure.
what they say. Touching on this exact point, they couldn't pack every kingdom into it. They wanted
Right.
a game that was going to be accessible and entertaining, but they say they haven't even begun talking about expansions yet.
Oh, okay.
So there you go. That's where you're going to work everything else in.
So board games have expansions now.
Yes. Yeah.
DLC for board
Yeah.
games.
Yeah, like
I didn't
Catan.
know that. I did not know that.
Mhm.
Catan is one of my favorite board games. One of the few I'll play.
Huh. Okay. I
Yeah.
didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, Settlers of Catan. Good game. Good game. You just have to have teammates that'll actually take you seriously, though. But nonetheless. Yeah, there's a story here that we're not going to go into right now. Overall, I guess this is something we'll all be adding to our Christmas list then this year. So, good. You can find full episodes of RSBANDB Update right here on this YouTube channel. If you found this video useful or just enjoyed it, like and subscribe, or leave a comment.